Welcome back. We are now going to be looking at day 4. This is the series that I'm doing on Clutch Gaming. So yeah, we will be going through every Clutch Gaming game that for their main team that they play this split in the NALCS. So day 4 of the LCS, they had to go against Team Liquid reigning champions. So definitely probably one of the hardest matches for the first round robin of the double round robin for the split. So let's go ahead and get into the draft. I've already pulled up here so that we can see how the draft went without any kind of changes, any switches. Bans are also going to be standard, but we have a couple new bans coming out in this game. So other than Cassiopeia and Urgot, which are pretty standard, we do see Scion come out, which Scion is always going to be a powerful flex pick for the mid and top lane. Now this is something that Team Liquid specifically likes because they tend to rely on double lift a lot. So this is definitely an attack at how Team Liquid generally likes to play their game. Since they do rely on a shot caller ADC. Not that I know a whole lot about NALCS, but who doesn't know double lift? And that's definitely the biggest personality and star player in their team. Although the addition of Jensen to their team definitely might make this look a little bit weird. So, because I wouldn't, honestly, I couldn't imagine Jensen playing Scion. Like, I could imagine playing Galio before the nerfs, but maybe that one's a little out there for me. But Scion's a great mid-game tank, even in the top lane. He gets to farm for free. He gets a good laning phase. He can hold most lanes. Not a lot of bad matchups. And then he's able to just be a face tank for any kind of backline carry. Lasts long enough for it to be a DVS carry, and a second life it just makes that even better. The Jace ban's coming out, so 9.2 did bring a lot of Jace players across the world. I honestly cannot tell you what happened this patch to bring Jace. I think it was really just the nerfing of other champions that allowed Jace to become better. But I am not the biggest Jace fan. Jace is generally a champion that you pick that he can split push. He's pretty reliable as a split pusher. Doesn't have the most mobility. Has really great poke for a siege comp, but does not scale. He has his Ezreal syndrome, where if you look at his power potential curve, in terms of game time, he's gonna be decent in the early game. He might even be great in the early game, depending on the matchup. He'll be great in the mid game, and then he'll just start falling down. Now, if this was a plateau, it would be a different story. Whereas, like in a plateau, like you can keep your strength, you just won't become noticeably stronger. And when I say noticeably stronger, that's a really important term. Like when an ADC buys Infinity Edge, they are noticeably stronger because their attacks are incremented by another 25%, or at least with the new Infinity Edge. I'm talking about 9.3. But there is more damage, a noticeable amount of damage, coming from each auto attack. Or if when an AP champion buys Ludens, that is a big noticeable change because they're adding a 0.1 scaling ratio along with I guess it's 100 base damage to their kit, plus a lot of damage generally if they haven't already bought both the components. So that scaling ratio and base damage is a very noticeable difference at the time. Whereas later on, if you're the increments that you would buy stuff in tend to slow down, or not slow down generally, depends on your situation, but tend to slow down in terms of noticeability. Maybe you're buying a 6th item Zhonya's, so really it might impact your utility, but it will not impact your actual damage output. and at that point, cooldown reduction it depends on your champion as well, may or may not affect your champion a whole lot. Lucian, we already know why he's banned. No need to talk about that. Alistar. Alistar is an interesting ban. Alistar is very clearly a throw at Vulcan. So Vulcan likes to be proactive from what I understand. Clutch likes to be proactive from what I understand. Even when they shouldn't be being productive, they are proactive. They like to be proactive. Or they find ways to be proactive in ways that they find ways to be proactive that I don't agree with. So, you know, the Alistar is very, very good at being proactive. He's very straightforward, very reliable, and just overall very strong champion in the bottom lane in almost any meta. So, ban definitely targeted at Clutch Gaming for a good reason. Team Liquid, they go ahead and they take Akali. So Clutch Gaming go ahead and they respond, and I'm not going to go into a lot of details about champions that we've actually had a lot of talks about. So if you're new, if you're coming into this video new, this is going to be a whole series. You can always go back to older videos to get information that I'm going to be skipping over for the people who keep coming back every week. Lissandra is going to be the counter to Akali, so these are both flex picks. These are both going to be flexed, probably. I wouldn't be surprised if Jensen and Impact could both play Akali, and Huni and Demonte can definitely both play Lissandra. Caitlyn is actually really strong on patch 9.2. I think a lot of regions have been looking over Caitlyn as something that's not very strong. But really, her abusive laning phase is a really good abusable pick. Or makes her a really good abusable pick. Team Liquid responds with Aatrox, so they're also getting a double flex here, and then Aatrox can also be flexed in the jungle. Maybe less now than he used to be, since this is patch 9.2. He got nerfed. But they go ahead and they pick Lee Sin, so they're not going to be flexing Aatrox to the jungle. Just a side note. So this is interesting that Team Liquid is actually holding their bottom lane for the later picks, because we talked in yesterday's video that Clutch was holding their solo lanes for the later picks, and that definitely shows like how two different teams are going to prioritize draft differently to cater to the players that they want to cater to. So Team Liquid very much wants to cater to Doublelift and Core JJ. Clutch Gaming very much wants to cater to Demonte and Huni when possible. In this draft, it's a little bit different, but they go ahead and they round off the first pick phase with Rumble. So Rumble is going to be really good, pretty good into both Akali and Aatrox, whereas Lissandra is going to be pretty good into Akali and pretty good into Aatrox. It's definitely not a bad matchup. She can push. She just doesn't like to get jumped on. And if she has ult, when she does get jumped on, it's not that big of a problem either. So I'm kind of curious as to how Clutch are going to place these champions, because what they can do is that they can place Rumble in the mid lane if they think that the Rumble ultimate is going to be good bot, or they can place Lissandra in the mid lane if they want to go for like early picks and then maybe put pressure on early dragons, because Lissandra ult will be definitely very strong for just saying, okay, we're going to go to the enemy's Raptors, we're going to press R, and we're going to one-shot them, we're going to go take Dragon. And because we have Caitlyn, we're probably going to get a winning bottom lane. So here's where I start disagreeing with things in the draft. For the side of both teams, to be honest. I like the Chaya ban. I'm going to say that. I like the Chaya ban. Chaya's pretty good into Caitlyn. I very much dislike the Kai'Sa ban. I think that Kaisa actually should have been Sivir, only because there are not a lot of things that can deny Caitlyn her extremely strong early game. And why would you ban a champion that is known to have a really weak early game and weak laning phase? If you're okay with if you know that you're going to win lane anyway. Now, I'm not saying that Caitlyn can't win lane against Sivir. Caitlyn definitely has more damage than Sivir, but Sivir is pretty good at staying in this lane and kind of ignoring Caitlyn, just feeding off of the mana that Caitlyn's able to give her. And then I don't know. I think there were other options. I'm very much in support of the Chaya ban. If they thought that Chaya was going to be a big issue, if they didn't want to play against Chaya, they weren't prepared for it. Chaya's a great champion. Chaya was buffed in 9.2. Chaya's pretty good. Kaisa, no, I disagree. Team Liquid, I don't know what they're thinking here. I think that the Xin Zhao ban is pretty good. Xin Zhao's pretty strong into Lee Sin. Xin Zhao's also pretty good at ganking lanes early. He's definitely reliable in that, and he has good clear, so he has lots of options. And I've definitely stressed that having multiple options makes you a lot better in a game. It makes you a lot stronger. I think that Camille is kind of unnecessary. I think Camille could be exchanged for either a support ban or for another jungle ban that Clutch might be incentivized to play. I don't even know if they need to ban another jungle, but if they were really afraid of Lyra, they could ban anything that's pretty strong against Lee Sin. I think that looking at these three champions, like Sejuani is just so good on this patch. Gragas is pretty good against Lee Sin. What else? Even something like Kha'Zix. Not that I think Kha'Zix is the best champion for competitive play, but he is popular. He comes out every now and then. And if you're worried about a jungle matchup, Kha'Zix is decent into Lee Sin. He's not. It's kind of a skill matchup. It kind of depends on how the game goes. State of the game will definitely decide like who will have more control in the jungle. But how the early game jungle pathing goes definitely plays a big part. Okay, so Clutch Gaming, after the second ban phase, they go ahead and they go to pick Olaf, which I find really interesting. Olaf has extremely fast early clear, pretty good dragon pressure, but his ganking is not so great. His ganking is okay with Lissandra. He's good with people who have slows. He likes to stack the slows, and just have any kind of help at getting on top of people. So this definitely isn't a bad pick, and it's a great early pick. It shows that they do want to play tempo. Maybe they are going to play bottom side. Maybe they are going to go for dragons. And if they're going to go for dragon control, maybe that can just lead to try and shut out Lee Sin from the game. And if you shut out Lee Sin, then maybe you can play for this mid game. And if you play for this mid game where Lissandra is going to be really good, Rumble's going to be really good, and maybe Caitlyn won't be so good if she doesn't get the best lane, but if you're going to be playing towards bottom side, then maybe Caitlyn will be able to get some resources from the other champions on the map who will be able to make her a lot stronger in the mid game. And then you'd only have to deal with the Akali. So I can see where this pick is coming from, even though I mean it's not what I would have just picked Sejuani. I think Sejuani goes great there. But then again, I mean, I think Lyra is also a carry player, from what I understand, so I'm not gonna force him on it, but you know, matter of opinion on how I think draft could go ideally versus how I think draft can go based on player comfort are two completely different subjects. Doublelift says, hey, give me the Sivir because it's a free matchup. Braum makes this even easier. Braum's super good against Caitlyn. There are no more Caitlyn ults. They don't exist. Sivir eats them, or Braum eats them. I don't think Braum is that much. I don't think Braum is that going to be that useful out of lane. And even in lane, he's not going to be that useful until like level 5. So he's going to have a really short period of time, which is like super awesome. But hey, I mean, at least Braum like synergizes with more than one champion on their team in terms of his passive, and he's a pretty good champion. He's just not going to be getting a lot of value out of his E, so, you know. As long as you have a pretty good idea of what you're picking a champion for and you're abusing that, then that's fine. Clutch goes ahead and they pick Lulu. So this is extremely interesting. I think this is a good test as to whether or not Lulu can do anything about Akali. So Clutch says, okay, we have a pretty strong tempo mid-game comp. What can we do to make sure Akali isn't an issue? And they decide to pick Lulu. Now, if they banned Braum instead of Kai'Sa and left Sivir open, then maybe they could pick Tahm Kench, because I doubt Team Liquid would have picked Tahm Kench. And if they had a Tahm here, Tahm is pretty good about that, but I guess there's like a few options. Lulu is pretty awesome for this. Like Lulu in terms of anti-assassin, that's her niche. And she's also really good for bottom lane pressure. So I don't think this is a bad pick. I just think it's very like oddball, like out of the blue. Because Lulu's just not exactly the strongest champion right now. But that's perfectly fine. So let's let the early game play out a little bit while we talk about these team comps. They decided to put Huni on Rumble and Demonte on Lissandra. So that makes sense. Lissandra is going to be your mid-game help. They're definitely going to be going for Dragon Control. If they can get Dragon Control, they can maybe shut out Lee Sin. If they shut out Lee Sin, then they can get a good mid-game, and Lee Sin won't be very useful. Olaf took a blind start, and so did Lee Sin, so that's really interesting. But anyway, the lanes will go like this. Caitlyn's gonna push, because she has Lulu too. So like this is just annoying. That lane is the definition of annoying, even though there are other options that are probably also good. And this is a very good punish for an annoying lane. Level 1 Rumble? This is fine. I don't like this. Like, okay. I'm gonna go really quick on how these lanes are gonna go. And then we're gonna talk about what just happened, because it's ridiculous. Okay. Rumble's gonna push top, and then mid's gonna be about even, but Lissandra should be able to push for a lot of the time because her Q after about level 3, so that would be about she's at level 5. I'm just talking about 3 points in Q. Is going to be strong enough to be able to push the wave pretty easily, while Aatrox's Q is still going to be on a long cooldown. So early on, and this lane, like, not a whole lot's going to happen. It's going to be Demonte in the mid game is going to control the lane, and this is going to be like post 5. He's going to say, I'm going to push, and then I'm going to go do something else. You probably won't see any kind of CS lead. It would be even, and that'll be about it. Top lane, Rumble might have a small lead. In terms of individual setup, and you know, I'm not talking about what we just saw, because that would definitely affect what we just saw in several ways. But we're gonna go ahead and get to that later. And then bottom lane, Sivir might not be behind on farm, but they're going to be pushed in all the time. You're going to see this turret plating gold go all the way to Caitlyn. So Caitlyn's going to get tons of turret plating gold, which will be really useful for her in the mid game. That'll be one of the few leads that she has. Okay, so imagine this. Imagine this. Oh, I did not want closed captioning. So your jungler starts bottom side, their jungler starts bottom side. You're not exactly sure where Lee Sin is starting. Like, I guess if we went back and we really looked and we were like, oh, did they 5-point? Did they get any wards? Did they see Lee Sin? They did see Lee Sin on top side. So this is my only assumption. There are two reasons why bot lane could have happened. One, Clutch thought that Lee started top. Or Clutch disrespects a level 2 Lee Sin gank. Meaning that, and when I say disrespect, I say that with a very specific definition. So when I say disrespects, I mean that they think that Lee Sin, it is not within Lee Sin's options to perform a level 2 gank. They think that the level 2 gank is not worth Lee Sin's time. Well, it's hard to say it is worth his time if they're going to push up really far at level 1. So I think what Piglet and Vulcan are doing here is really irresponsible. So when we do move forward, let's go. So they're holding the wave. This is the first wave, by the way. And you can tell that, I don't have to be sure. Sivir has 0 XP, there's still 6 minions there. So how many minions does Piglet need to get to level 2? Well, these will not suffice. If you get a first blood assist, 6 minions will give you level 1, but that's only in a solo lane. So not even in a duo lane will that actually give anywhere near level 2. So they're just saying, okay, we just want to be annoying. We're trying to get auto attacks. We don't think that Lee Sin will come level 2. And if they thought this, maybe if they had even expected this, I would think that Olaf wouldn't be at Gromp. I think Olaf would be down here, trying to expect this. So this would make me conclude that I don't think that CG thought it was within was within his options, or if they even thought that Lee Sin might start bot. So how did this change the game now? So they trade 1 for 1. Puni loses an early teleport. What happens? Well, one, Olaf is going to have a little more control of the jungle, which is actually really good for Clutch. This helps Clutch a lot. Who else got a kill? Braum. Okay, so this is not good for TL. What is good about this for TL is that Braum with First Blood will probably buy Ruby Crystal. Why does that impact the game? Well, 150 HP is quite a bit of HP for trying to not die against Lulu, Caitlyn. Lulu, Caitlyn are just going to poke him all day, so the faster he gets to somewhat tanky, the faster that he will not die. The faster he can just kind of ignore them, really, is what I should say. Because being able to ignore your opponent is pretty powerful. Okay, so how does this affect Rumble? Because that's also a big thing. So Rumble gets a bit of its assist gold. This is still before the 4-minute mark. I forget how that first blood rule works. So I'm not sure how much assist gold there is, but I don't think Rumble's holding that much assist gold. It's being split between him and Caitlyn. But I do know that he is going to lose a little bit of EXP in the top lane that he did not get here in the bottom lane, and he will not be able to teleport back top lane. So even though this teleport was necessary for him to help his team get the kill, it's definitely hurting the dynamic in top lane. So if Akali does get a lead, I'm not saying that it will swing the lane in Akali's favor, but I am saying that it will take longer for Rumble to be able to use his mid-game punish to try and punish Akali a lot. And Akali will be able to get a free back since she has teleport. So she's going to be able to sustain through the top lane pretty easy. And since we are actually on the verge of getting 9.3, 9.2 will be the last patch where Akali is going to be extremely good in the top lane or extremely good into bad matchups such as Rumble, where if she hits a lot of minions with her Q, then she will get a she will be able to get a okay, that was 52 gold for each assist. Not bad. Where she will be able to get a big heal if she hits several minions with her Q. Okay. 3 minutes in, a little bit of action. That's not bad. Olaf sees Lee Sin's now clearing his top side. Olaf goes back to clear his top side. Also good for Olaf. Olaf got double scuttle, which is extremely good. The bot lane is continuing as planned. They are almost at their first turret plating at 4 minutes. Remember, they have until 14 minutes to get turret plating. So definitely things are going as expected in this game, besides that little hiccup in the beginning. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to turn on 2 times. And he's trying to hold minions so he doesn't lose anything to the turret, and I think he's going to try and freeze it under his turret. And what that will do is that even though Akali teleported, it's going to help him still be able to abuse Akali, even though he lost a little bit of a EXP lead. Well, it looks like he's going to lose that freeze because he played with his Q a little bit. While there's not a lot of action, interesting choices this game in terms of runes or summoner spells. You do see the Aftershock Lysandra come out, so she's going to be the main bruiser for clutch. And then you also see Ignite come out for Jensen. So Ignite 9.2, it was nerfed to 9.1 I think. So not a whole lot of extra pressure coming in from that, especially against a Aftershock. An Aftershock Lysandra. So Jensen probably won't be able to get to use that very often. In the meantime, we do see that Lyra was able to get an early Fire Dragon. He comes back to his race, says, "Hey, those are mine." And that early lead that Lyra gave him made it super easy for him to take that Fire Dragon. CoreJJ gets a roam on mid. Lyra goes ahead and says, "Hey, that's okay." Piglet's getting poked down a lot in the lane. I think Lulu went to clear a ward, whereas while CoreJJ was mid, they probably could have gotten that first tower plating just if Lulu was with Piglet. Doesn't really matter if they share the gold or not, it just matters that taking that tower away is huge. Also another interesting rune choice, you do see Fleet Footwork coming out from Sivir. Sivir is good with a lot of runes, actually, you'd be surprised. One of the best hyper carry runes for Sivir is generally Lethal Tempo. But when Sivir feels like she needs to play it safe, she'll definitely go for Fleet Footwork. Always a good choice. Even Conqueror isn't bad with the amount of AoE damage she's able to get since her Q buff. So that was good. That was good. Clutch Gaming. This is definitely an improvement from the Saturday's game, because what happened there, and I don't actually need to go into a lot of detail. Demonte and Leo were able to force out the flash. Oh wait, no, was that not a flash? Wait. I think I saw that wrong. No, he was playing actually pretty. That was kind of bad pathing. Why is he walking that way instead of that way? Not only like his shortest distance is going to be there. That doesn't mean he can't walk there. And walking there is actually a longer distance. So I mean, like, if this is path A, B, and C, A is actually the shortest distance. B is still shorter than C. So I don't know why he's walking backwards. I think this is actually a kill. If it's not a kill, it's a flash. I do like a forced flash. I think that should have been a forced flash. But that's okay. They got his ult. They got Demonte the pressure that he needs in mid lane to go ahead and just keep pushing the lane and going to do something else, because that's exactly what he wants to do. It gives him a free back. Lyra says, I'm going to go sit by bot, while bot goes ahead and pushes. Bot did get their first turret plating. Definitely a pretty standard game by the 10-minute mark. So Lear's going for the next dragon here. So lots of dragon control coming out from Clutch, just like it says in their team composition. Just as that would probably be why they put Lysandre mid, just because it makes it really easy in case they have to deal with anyone. They have to go ahead and get any free pick while they're able to try and control dragon. That's definitely what the Olaf is good at. See what happens here, and oh my, that was really unfortunate for the side of Piglet. I might have to slow that one down. Okay, so Piglet and Vulcan are definitely pushed up. Why is... I don't understand. Okay, so you already got Dragon. After the Dragon, TL went ahead and they got Vision around bottom side. They cleared a lot of CG's vision. CG doesn't get to see anymore. Piglet, not that... I don't know how much of CG's vision they actually cleared. I wasn't paying that much attention to like how much vision CG has, but just look at how dark the CG map is right now. They have vision around the dragon pit here. They don't have any vision past like there. They only have vision on the dragon pit itself and there. They don't have vision past that. They don't have vision on top side, except on their tri-bush and on directly Rift Herald. So there's not a lot of actual information. They have vision in case Lee path towards mid from Raptors. So there are not a lot of options in which they can see. So unless they have some kind of magical idea of where they think Lee Sin would be, and Lee Sin should be on bottom side anyway, because his red buff is going to spawn. And let me just go ahead. When was the last time Lee Sin was seen? Was Lee Sin seen here? there was a ward placed. You can actually assume that ward is placed by Lee Sin. Okay, so we know Lee Sin is on bottom side. So Clutch Gaming knows Lee Sin was on bottom side. Lee Sin goes to golems. Now Clutch might not know whether or not Lee Sin's golems are up, and it's pretty unfortunate. Clutch had a ward here. It despawned right before Lee actually went up. Now remember, wards at this point, like, they don't have a very long lifespan. But I'm going really in depth for a very small error. So what's the small error that I'm trying to point out? But I'm reading a lot also. So Piglet is trying to poke with Caitlyn, and he wants to be aggressive. But if they know that Lee Sin was on bottom side, he will probably continue on bottom side. Why are you this far up? And if you're this far up, why are you actually doing this? Notice that this is about 300 range. Caitlyn has 650 range. So from this, Caitlyn should actually be standing here, or maybe even here. I think there. And you know, I'm not gonna be super exact. But Caitlyn should be able to farm perfectly fine, very far away. And maybe he feels really safe because they have all summoners, but he's apparently not very safe because he just gets ulted on in one shot. So could this play have gone better if TL were to commit a lot more in order to kill Piglet? Yes. I think this play would have gone better if TL were to commit a lot more to Piglet. Because, like, imagine this. Imagine Piglet's here. And Braum has to W to here, flash Q, and ult Piglet. Or maybe even Braum has to go onto Lulu, who would probably be here at the time if Caitlyn was here. If that were the case, then you would definitely see either both CG bottom lane flashing, and even that would still be worth Braum's flash if he's able to get a good angle on his ultimate, because Lee Sin's here as well, and Lee Sin can definitely use a ward hop to an ultimate, to a dragon's kick or whatever it's called, and then they could still have double teleport against the single teleport that Akali has. So there could have definitely been a bigger advantage gained here from Clutch, just if Piglet wasn't being so, frankly, irresponsible. He's just being zealous. Zealous is a very good word to describe how he was playing there. But anyway, it's a 1-for-1 trade. But how are these 1-for-1 trades really benefiting CG? Well, the teleports to bottom lane have destroyed CG's top lane. Rumble's so far behind in gold in compared to Akali. He's also behind on experience, which just like isn't ideal. You want Rumble to be hitting his next ultimate as fast as possible. It's not particularly hurting their bottom lane. I think Piglet himself is hurting himself in the bottom lane. I think the leaving Sivir open over Kai'Sa, like if Team Liquid had Kai'Sa right now, it'd be a completely different game. They would have zero control on the bottom side. But it's interesting. I don't even want to talk about that, but I will. So I think there's a lot of factors as to why Piglet might have a small disadvantage, but definitely how the game has gone anyway has caused a disadvantage in top side, and that's actually where you see the gold lead shift into the side of TL. So like you see the TL is 2k up, it's actually on that. Does that 2k matter that much? No. That 2k is directly from just minion need. Okay, so Damonte's going for a 1v1 here. He gets caught in a Aatrox. What did he do here? What are you doing this for? This is your issue. Like you shouldn't let Aatrox get this onto you, this like opening for a combo. Like his ES is opening to the combo. So if you actually go back and you say, okay, well, until what point was Damonte safe? Damonte was safe up until here. He autos and then he moves forward, whereas he should be moving back here, and he would be perfectly fine. He would have pushed Jensen out of lane. He'd be able to Q this. He would actually have to auto this after Qing it in order to kill it, so that the tower doesn't kill it. And then Jensen has to leave lane, and that's it. That's the entire play. But instead he moves forward. Like this is also zealous. Like this is what I get a lot from Clutch. Like whether they're winning or whether they're losing, this is just kind of the mood that I feel when I'm looking at them. That they like to bite off more than they can chew. They like to try and push their limits, and like maybe that's something that they can do in scrims. But in scrims is just a different game. Like you shouldn't be. You have to take caution on the stage that you might not even take in scrims, because you're trying to test things in scrims. It's okay. It's okay to mess up in scrims, but you know you need to perform on the stage. So it's about that point in the top lane where Rumble's not actually going to be able to contest a whole lot of Akali anymore. He doesn't have the same damage or sustain that Akali has, and his sustain within small fights just isn't as large either. And with the level disadvantage, Akali being at level 11, he can't even come out from under his tower. So this is an interesting statistic. I think this is one turret plating in every lane, and it might be two in the mid lane. That's really odd. I feel like, no, I think it's one in every lane. Whereas the only turret plating that CG got was one in bot, and they should have gotten a lot more than one, but I don't need to explain a whole lot as to why that happened. Because I think we've already gone over that a lot. This is a really odd rift spawn. TL's doing all resources and they're saying, we don't mind if you come to stop this Rift Herald with all of your resources. The Rift Herald ends up being useless, but it does open up TL with a pathway to the dragon, which ends up being a fire dragon. They try to get a catch on Huni, but they end up losing control of the river anyway. CG goes ahead and they starts the dragon. But this is a very rough fight. They're gonna hold CG out of mid lane. Like let's imagine if something actually happened here and this wasn't NA, because if this was any other region, I think they would have fought here. Maybe not EU, but if this was any other region, they probably would have fought here. What could happen here? Well, what's the individual goal of each champion? Lee Sin wants two things. He wants two things. He wants to kick as many important targets as possible, and he wants to secure the dragon. Those are his two objectives. Akali's one objective is to assassinate any target possible. Sivir's objective is to do as much DPS damage as possible. Braum is the access point for Sivir to be able to access the fight. So Braum stands in front of Sivir. Sivir then becomes more durable within the fight. And then Aatrox is also a backline diver on the fight. He's a backline bruiser. So, and he also does quite a bit of AoE damage. Lissandra is going to lock down someone in the fight, and this will probably be the assassin. Lyra is also going to be focused on two things. One, he is an access point for his carry, and then he is also trying to secure the dragon. And let's remember that Xmithie is not only up one level, so his smite is bigger, but he has an execution that's a lot bigger. The damage that Lee Sin will get on his Q2 is going to be much larger. The damage of Q2 is going to be much larger than Olaf, than the damage on the E of Olaf. And I'm writing like really formally, which you don't need to do, but I just wanted to be really clear. So Lee Sin's Q2 damage is going to be much larger as an execute. And I don't think you actually spell it like that. XD. So I mean you might be getting, I think it's a 300 damage maximum. You might be getting, it's a level 10 smite, 400 plus 30 times 10. I mean, it might be what, a 700 to 1,000 with Q2. So you might be looking at 1,000. Olaf might have, I doubt he, like there's two types of Olaf. You're gonna max E or you're gonna max Q, but you usually max Q. E's kind of cheesy, like solo Q thing. But maxing Q gives you the slow, and then the W generally gives you a lot of DPS because it's attack speed and it's going to give you lifesteal, sustain. So it makes him a really strong bruiser, really durable. So you generally wouldn't put a whole lot of points into E. It's just kind of extra true damage that you can put into your combo. So he might be doing maybe 100 damage with that, and then maybe he has a 680 smite. And I'm not being super exact, but if you're looking at the chances here, you're looking at a 780 smite versus a 1000 smite, and this is very estimated, and we don't need to go into very core detail, but it is very clear that it would be more beneficial for CG to fight and for some reason get this dragon because a fight happened, even if it was scrappy, because 2 fire dragons is better than 1 versus 1. Even if they had to lose the fight because they used Lissandra ult onto Lee, but that's his job right now. I got super distracted there. I went on to a huge. I was talking about Olaf and I went on to a huge. I don't know the word. I got really distracted. But the rest of CG want to be also consistent with what these two are doing. Lulu is not an access for a carry, but she's a support for a carry. So traditional support's not very popular in this meta. She can ult the carry if necessary because Akali will be on the carry, as well as any kind of other damage that will be on the carry. So the Lulu ult is quite useful for trying to get Akali and Aatrox off the carry, and then the Rumble can zone with the ultimate the enemy from being able to enter. So the Rumble ultimate can actually zone the 3 of these champions pretty far away from the fight. Can't really zone Akali because of her ultimate. I guess Braum could enter too with Akali if he can jump over, but that could pose a problem for TL. So I think CG needs to be more proactive on this play. And this kind of gets into that idea that I actually got in the first, or maybe it was the second video, where CG sometimes when they do have an opportunity, don't take it, it's as if they have two shot callers, and one of them is like, hey, we need to play it safe, and the other shot caller is like, hey, we need to take advantage of the situation, even if we're not entirely sure. And it's good to have different perspectives like that on the team, but there was almost no way that Olaf was going to win the Smite Steal. Like, unless maybe he was able to time it with a headshot from Caitlyn, which would have added like 400 damage. But this happening is definitely good for TL. This definitely puts the game really bad for Clutch. So when we do look at the game now, we see a 3,000 gold lead for TL, and then there's no both teams having one fire dragon is as if both teams have 0 fire dragons. So this causes a big issue for Clutch. And because TL don't really mind if the game goes long, because they do have Aatrox, Sivir, and Akali, because the only threats late game for CG are really Rumble and Caitlyn, then they can probably deal with that, just because it's not going to be very easy for Clutch to do anything unless they get any kind of big lead. Because Rumble doesn't rely on a lead, but Olaf and Lissandra definitely rely on a lead. And Sivir is your classic. I know I've said it. Your classic 500 CS or just 6-item win for her linear scaling. So we're at 20 minutes. The game is pretty slow. Clutch Gaming down 4,000 gold. Definitely not the best game condition or game state that they would like to be in. Definitely not the worst. But they need to find an opening somehow. This is probably not their opening. That was a little interesting. They decided to capitalize on that with mid tower. So I'm a little interested in what happened there, because this might have been on purpose. This could be on purpose, and when I say this could be on purpose, I mean Funi could be overextending in order to cause Team Liquid to respond in the way that they did, so that Clutch could get mid tower. Could you say that the top tower on the side of CG is particularly important? I don't think that it's particularly important, but I do think the mid tower on blue side is particularly important, as the mid tower on both sides is quite important. So I'm not going to say that this was a horrible trade for Clutch, although I would have liked it to be like, oh, we lose top tower, you lose mid. I would have much preferred a handshake than a force, because I don't think Clutch can afford to be more behind in gold right now. And I think that Sivir was going top anyway. I don't think it was necessary for Huni to go that far up, because they had already committed once Aatrox had dived. But I can't predict how players will react in terms of behavior. Okay, so dragons ever since recently spawn a lot faster, so we are at a dragon fight again. This time we might want to see Clutch. And before we do this dragon fight, because I would hope that Clutch tries to fight it, let's just do a quick state of the game. Sivir is ahead of Caitlyn by a BF sword, so that's huge. I don't think it's a whole BF sword. I think Caitlyn's holding gold. Aatrox has 2 items. Interestingly built, Lissandra has 2 items. Same with Olaf. Olaf has 2 items. Lee Sin does not have 2 items, so Lee Sin is particularly weak. A lot of the gold that he invests, or a lot of the time he invests, goes into gold for his team. Akali is at one of her core power spikes. Rumble is actually not that strong right now. He doesn't have any magic pen. He wants Void Staff, or maybe he's getting Rylai's because he's behind. But he does have the Leanders, which is pretty strong. And then support builds are pretty much negligible at this point because they don't include any unique actives or passives besides wards. So what Clutch needs to do is, can they secure this dragon somehow? And they have mid tower, which should make this a little easier. They should be able to control from mid side. That was not a good Rumble ult. That was very sad. Okay, let's watch this frame by frame here. So Lyra gets engaged on. So Olaf's vulnerable. CG actually do take control of mid, but the majority of their damage is actually far away from the fight. TL has given up any kind of control of mid because they know that they're looking for an advantage. And because TL's on blue side, they have easier access to the dragon pit from their jungle. So Olaf has to flash out, and now Huni's left alone. So Huni panics here. Look exactly at this Rumble ult. This Rumble ult is abysmal. This is not aimed at anyone. If it was here, would it be better? Yes. Like, are you trying to push the enemy team into your team? Maybe that's what you want. If it's here, is that also good? If it's here, or if it's here, that might also be good. I don't like this rather than this. I think if you were to choose A or B, I think you choose B. I think if you were to choose A or B, I think you choose B, even if they are moving towards A, just because they're going to get stuck in this choke point between your Rumble ult and your team. So I think this is very bad in this fight. And like this is a very rare occasion that I talk about micro in a team fight, because usually players are playing their champions to the maximum, but the Rumble ult was just almost useless, and I think that's really sad for the side of Clutch Gaming, because I think that they could have done a whole lot more here. Lucky for them, Impact goes and separates from his team. Demonte's in the jungle. They go ahead and they one-shot Akali. Now, if they can get onto this dragon, they might be able to do something. They do not get onto the dragon, but they are going to be moving towards TL. Monte just gets in there really late. So I can see why a team would mess up here. So Olaf really wants to smite the dragon. Anyone honestly wants to smite the dragon. Wait, is that? No, okay. I think that's still moving. Yeah, that's still moving. I don't know if Demonte's E is up, but I think it should already be going in. Because if anyone has a chance to smite the dragon, it's Demonte, because they are aware. But what I was trying to say is, I think I understand that CG is very excited to try and get this dragon, because if they get this dragon, it gives them the best chance at winning this game, because it makes the scaling not so much of a win condition for TL. Because it turns scaling, not maybe in their favor, but very difficult for TL. So now that TL has 2 fire dragons and the scaling comp to 1 fire dragon, as if it were 1 fire dragon to 0, it's actually more impactful than that, but it's particularly it's particularly unfortunate for the side of Clutch Gaming, because now that not only are they behind a decent amount of gold right now, not that it's abysmal, it's about 15%, and you really should start to worry at 10. I definitely have I've gone over some of the general rules at when you need to worry, when the game looks like it's healthy, and when a team doesn't generally have a whole lot of options. Clutch is their options are thinning, and if that gold lead goes up to about 8,000 right now, which would be about 20%, you definitely will see Clutch struggling to be able to do a whole lot. So what's going on? TL decides that they're going to run 1-3-1. And what that does is they say they have stronger, oh man, I don't want to see a team fight yet. They have stronger lanes than Clutch, so they're going to push in every lane, and this makes it very difficult for Clutch because they can rotate onto any tower when they want to. So let's look at this area for a minute. Top inner is actually one of the easiest turrets to take down, because imagine if you're TL right now, you ping toward this bush, you get vision here, and you get vision here in this bush over there. And then if you can also control that, then you can go behind the turret, you can go in front of the turret, you can keep Clutch away from the turret from the jungle, and they can only enter from there. So Clutch have to go all the way around, and they can try and get back to that turret, and if they come with 5, maybe they can stop it. So very, very good scene for the geometrical aspect of how controlling the topside jungle works. But TL side, we're going to converge onto top lane because we have the push in bottom lane. Akali's going to converge onto mid lane. Now, because Lissandra was helping bottom lane, Lissandra will either have to teleport, or she'll be stuck in bottom lane for an upcoming fight. CG say, we have to fight this because we don't want to lose a bigger gold lead. We need to try and fish for some kind of bigger advantage. Clutch go ahead and they look for the fight in the jungle. They do get a 1-for-1 trade almost immediately. Caitlyn dies to Akali, even with the Lulu ult, because Lulu ult isn't going to be helping a whole ton with all that damage coming out in exchange for Lee Sin. That's not too surprising. There's another 2 kills go to Liquid for 1 kill onto Akali for Clutch. So this is definitely not looking too strong for Clutch. Clutch say, okay, we want to try and recuperate somehow. They do burn the flash of Lissandra to try and get a kill onto Braum, but Braum says it's not worth it. We're going to go ahead and take this game slow, and he goes ahead and he loses his flash too. So this is Clutch desperately trying to secure something in this losing game state, and it's really just not possible. You see that even though they had a short numbers advantage for the beginning of the fight there, even with Lulu ult, Caitlyn just gets destroyed. This is actually a pretty good Rumble ult that's getting ignored, because Rumble ult is just not as strong when Rumble has to build defensive. Rumble, if he had double pen plus Leandri's plus maybe Void Staff. So if I were talking about par Rumble, this would be 1100 plus 1500 plus, I mean, this doesn't even have to be Leandri, so let's say 1600 plus 2800, 2800, 3400, 4400, 4500, 5500, and 1500, 7000. So 7,000 gold. generally getting like 400 gold a minute, starting with 400 gold. You're going to be looking for, you know, maybe a 20-minute rumble on par. And that would be pretty healthy. But he had to build defensive. He has Merc Treads. He doesn't have even any pen. So all this DPS, because DPS is actually is more useful with Magic Pen. Like, and it's not. When I say DPS, I mean like lots of different instances of damage, because instances of damage is definitely different from DPS. So I want to be really clear about that. Instances versus DPS are different. Damage per second can be any kind of damage as long as you're talking about one increment of 1 second of time, whereas one instance of damage would be 1 tick of Singed Poison or 1 tick of Rumble's Ultimate. And you know, all those different dot damages are ticked at different times, such as, for example, of Singed, his Q ticks every 0.25 seconds. I don't know why I said 0.25 seconds. No, actually, no. I think it used to be every 0.25 seconds. Maybe it's shorter. Now, I'm gonna have to check up on that. If someone wants to go ahead and figure that out for me, that's cool. But it used to like take a while to tick, and they changed the tick rate, and that actually that changes how the champion functions. It also changes how the champion scales with penetration, because it's gonna make it's going to make the calculation in terms of magic resistance and raw damage that is going to be given different. Okay, so TL returned to their 1-3-1, and they're going to do the same thing. They say, okay, well now we already have top tower, we just need to get bottom tower and mid tower, and then we'll be at a point in which we can go ahead and worry about maybe possible Baron call, and we'll be at a point in which Sivir's far enough ahead so that we can abuse her. So what do Clutch have to do? Clutch have to get a pick somehow. This is definitely with Lissandra. Lissandra's going to be your number one pick tool. So if you're able to pick someone, which is going to be really difficult, you can probably make a back end Baron call off of that, like a very desperate one, but it's possible. In order to try and either force a 5v4 that would either lead to a winning fight or would lead to a Baron. So TL playing it really safe. They always keep resetting their vision. Clutch keep trying to sweep vision. They don't want to let the top side push in really far because they don't want pressure on their inhibitor. That way they can always keep trying to recuperate their towers, or trying to defend their towers. Although remember that these are getting ticked away because of the hard tempo that TL has. And the hard tempo that TL has is definitely going to be a big issue. Because eventually, if these towers are taking damage, little by little, wave per wave, Clutch will not be able to hold that forever. There is a weakness within their rotation, and I'm not saying that the rotation could be any better, but in terms of the game state, they're in a pretty pitiful spot. So I'm not at all criticizing how Clutch are playing at this moment. In fact, they're doing pretty well at trying to keep up with vision control in their own jungle, and holding on to this mid turret for as long as possible. Oh, Piglet. I don't know what happened in the bottom lane. So look at this. So Huni's separated. This is the exact situation that you would expect to happen at some point. A big wave goes top. So what's the decision? Does someone collect that wave, or do they ignore that wave to defend mid? So what Clutch doesn't understand right now is that if you choose to collect that wave, you will no longer have the resources necessary to defend mid. So that when you're in a situation in a choke point like this, Choke point just meaning that there are lots of walls surrounding you. That you really just shouldn't be there. Like, you should be here. Like, if you want to defend this next wave, like, you might use Rumble for it, then you might be able to push out top, and you might be able to sustain until this happens again. And you know, maybe it's not that important that you give up an Ocean Drag. So, but when they group up in this, when they group up in this choke point, and Lissandra also goes to collect the wave, so that's the mistake. They are doing these two things at the same time. They can only do one or the other. And I'm not even saying that collecting a choke point is good as 4, but it does give them a better chance at doing something in the fight because the Lissandra is really important. And with Akali not in this fight, it does also make it easier for them. But losing the Caitlyn, I mean, you could say it loses mid tower. It also loses mid tower, but it loses this Baron. So what happens with this Baron? This Baron turns into a 1-3-1 and the game's over. So what's Clutch gonna do? Well, they weren't able to do anything. That's really pitiful and kind of depressing. So TL's gonna 1-3-1 and the game's gonna be over. And I wish I could say, like, with more sincerity that there is any kind of optimistic way in viewing clutch gaming at this point in the game. But there's not a whole lot that can be done. They almost got a pick onto Lee Sin, which would have been almost useless anyway. Like, it would have given them a very small amount of pressure. It would have been taken away in a Barret buff. But that just led to the end of the game anyway. Okay. Well, this was Clutch Gaming versus Team Liquid, day 4 of the NALCS Spring 2019. So just a recap. Clutch should have fought. Okay, so actually let's recap in the order of operations of like what, or chronological order of what should Clutch do to when they look at this game. When they look back at this game, like, what should have changed? One, I think that the draft was great up until phase 2. So draft changes in phase 2. And this includes the ban phase and the pick phase. I think this would have made it easier for their bottom lane. And then and this is the second thing is just that I'm not sure what they were thinking about the level 2 gank on Lee Sin. Like, it's either don't assume information. So then maybe they assumed that Lee Sin was top because they saw him top like 45 seconds before the buff spawned. Or don't disrespect a strong possibility. Or don't disrespect a possible gank. And that didn't even really hurt the game that much. But the third, I'm gonna say number 3 actually. Maybe Rift Herald control would have definitely helped their game because they did have the Olaf. And they did have the Lissandra, so Rift Herald control definitely would have been something. But this is the biggest thing, this right here. Look back at the second Fire Dragon. Because this definitely was kind of a standstill in which the chances of them getting the Fire Dragon, if that's what they wanted, were almost 0. Because of the difference in Smite. So I do not know what they were thinking there, because they either needed to bite the bullet and look to fight, and they could have won the fight and then also subsequently won the fire dragon and subsequently possibly won a turret, which would have given them enough control and tempo in the game to kind of revert the disadvantage that they had gathered in the top lane, on top of the fact that they might even be able to use the top lane as to keep Akali in a side lane, while also being able to control the rest of the map, because now they could be able to win the 4v4, and then also denying the scaling of TL, because they might be able to get, with a double fire dragon, a third fire dragon, and that then would really be a nail in the coffin for TL, saying, okay, well, TL, you have to play absolutely perfectly, or we're just going to demolish you, because we have so much damage from the statistical buff that any mistake that you make, we will punish with extreme value. Okay, thank you for watching. We will be back next week with more videos on Clutch Gaming. If you have any questions about the VOD review, feel free to comment below. This series is definitely open to comments in respect to like changing the format. If people want me to go back to games to look at things, I could even do a recap of plays, or go into specific plays in more details, look at plays with different lenses, or even do more of the numbers work if people want to know a little bit more about risk reward, actual value of decisions in game theory, and then options and map formations. But whatever people are actually interested in watching, we can try and work towards a happy medium, while also trying to keep the videos at a point in which they're not too long, which today's video, I'm actually not sure at how long I went. Anyway, I hope everybody has a wonderful night.